Welcome to the Crossroad. This is the Crossroad with John Mark, and I am here to welcome you to this forum where real people with real issues meet real solutions. And it's a beautiful opportunity. And now, the next few series that we're going to cover, we're going to talk about relationship issues. We are picking up on issues that people struggle with in relationship, and we're going to see how we can work with you. So today, as I introduce on the relationship issues, we're talking about boundaries. Boundaries are those areas in our relationships that need to be protected, that need to be made to feel safe, that needs you to take care of so that nobody goes inside, nobody goes into them. Because when people get into them, you find your privacy is deprived, your intimacy is interfered with, your confidence is messed up. You actually feel that someone is really getting into your nerves. So why do we need boundaries? We need boundaries to keep privacy in our relationship, to make you feel, yes, where you've committed, you are feeling safe. Number two, to keep away intruders, because if you don't keep away intruders, there are people who will intrude in your relationship. They will intrude into your privacy. They want to know details, things about you that you shouldn't be actually involving them in. Number three is that it gives you a degree of intimacy. You actually begin to feel that our closeness, our thing that we're sharing, is actually ours. There is no third party in this. The marriage bed is not crowded. The relationship is not with 10 other people other than just the two of us. And then it builds confidence that what we've got is ours and we are walking together in this path. And then finally, it actually gives us an opportunity to feel protected and safe as we journey through. So that is important when we talk about boundaries in a relationship. Now, it is important that you understand that when we talk about boundaries, and particularly in the context of marriage, we are talking about a relationship for two people by two people. No, there is no third party involved. There are others who will be out there interested, may have even agenda for it, but they can't afford to be involved. We will include several other people as part of the conversation, but they need to know where they belong. So you need to remember this, that it is for two people by two people. Now, sometimes there are people who will come into your life and in your journey, and you begin to wonder, do we listen to them? Like, I know a lot of men listen to their mothers in their conversation with their wives. A lot of girls listen to their fathers in their conversations with their husbands. The problem is this, that if that becomes the reason why you are in that relationship, then there is a problem. The problem is that so many pieces of advice we are given sometimes are not relevant. Some of them are not appropriate. Some of them are not convenient. Some of them actually are not working for the good of our relationship. So at the end of the day, what do? You find that if it's for me, fine. If it's for him, no. You end up being in a situation where you're actually struggling with that which you are supposed to be building. So this is the advice I give to people when they listen to other people's pieces of advice. Number one, it must be relevant. Two, it must be appropriate. Three, it must be convenient. If it is none of those, then you actually can choose not to use it, and you owe nobody an apology, because this is your relationship between the two of you, just the two of you. Now, then you might ask me, what exactly are the boundaries? There are 5 boundaries in every relationship, and particularly a marriage relationship. Now, I want you to understand that I'm talking in the context of marriage, not just a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, not just a situation of, come we stay. I know come we stay is becoming common today, but I come from the background where either you are in or you're not in. You can't have one leg in and one leg out. You can't be trying it out. You can't be doing a test drive to feel if we are compatible. No. How many people would you want to test drive? Are you polygamous? What if you are the lady is the one doing the test drive with people to confirm? The truth is this, it's not just right. If you want to commit to one relationship and walk that path. So this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a committing relationship, a relationship where we have two people who've given themselves, they are committing, they put both legs in the pot and in the water, and they are saying we are in, we are walking. So there are 5 boundaries that are key and are crucial to every serious relationship. Number 1 is what I call the couple's boundary. Now, I call this also the boardroom. This is where we discuss personal things. This is where we discuss things that pertain to our relationship. This is where we agree on the policies that we are going to implement in our relationship. This is where we agree on the things that pertain to our growth. We can discuss discipline, we discuss progress, investments, hopes, dreams. We cry together. We fight in here, go into the boardroom and fight there. And when you finish, you come out and both of you are smiling. Please don't tell us what you discussed in the boardroom. No, that is a board meeting. When you're done, have you ever noticed that even in our places where we work, discussions in the board meeting, nobody who is not a member of the board ever gets to know about it? You know why? Because it is none of your business. It can affect you, but you're not part of the board member, so you don't get to know. So it is important you know that. It is here that we can discuss openly, frankly, and personally the issues that we go through. For relationship purposes and for marriage purposes, this is where we talk about our sex life. This is where we talk about how many children we want to have. You don't go and discuss with your best friend how many children you want to have, and you come and tell your husband that I think I only want 5. And the guy is like, oh, you want 5, me I want 3, so how many do we want? At the end of the day, he's like, no, my mom told me that 3 are good. Well, that is a good advice. Remember, is it appropriate? Is it relevant? Is it convenient? If it's not, let it pass. So this is where we discuss a lot of things about our future, our hopes, our dreams. We discuss even the discipline for the children. Who is going to do what? We discuss even our relatives. If they're staying with us and there's a problem, we discuss it and agree on who is going to implement the discipline or the action that we've agreed. It is in the board meeting where everything happens. It is in the boardroom. I call it a board meeting because this is the highest decision-making organ of the institution of a family. It is important that now in that board meeting, it is important that you are honest. Be very honest, be very frank, and be down to the bottom of the facts. Get the facts right. Tell it as it is. Now, don't bring in a story simply because someone else told you. No. Tell it as it is. And when you share it with each other, make sure that it is genuine. Now, don't bring it in to hurt the other. I know sometimes, and I'll be talking about conflict resolution as part of our conversation, that the mistake sometimes we make is that the fear of hurting each other makes us sometimes withhold our conversations. No, that is not going to help in the boardroom. It is in the boardroom where we say, by the way, there's something here that I don't think is really working for us. Could we discuss it? Instead of coming in and say, I know you did this, you are wrong, you have made this mistake. No, let's discuss it. And when we agree on the discussion, the policies we've agreed on, the ideas we've agreed on, the way we have agreed on, we move on. And when we move on together. It's also where we agree on how we progress in even our careers. Because I know cases where someone comes and says, oh, by the way, I got a promotion and I've been posted out of the country and I've taken the promotion. What do you think? What am I supposed to think after you've told me that? Am I supposed to be thinking, really? No, you're like, you've told me your mind is made up, you've taken it, you've left. So I am supposed to deal with it. Either I'm coming or I stay here, and you say you can't stay here, you are married, so you're coming along. What about my life? What about my career? We discuss it there. Okay, now one rule about board meeting is that every single confidential information discussed in the board meeting cannot be passed on, 1, to anybody outside, or 2, be used against me or against each other or manipulated as information that is confidential. Let me say that again. All the information that has been fronted or brought in the boardroom cannot be used, 1, passed on to someone else who is not a member of the board, or 2, used against any member of the board. In other words, if I've told you something that I am struggling with and we are in the board meeting, you cannot use it next time against me if I make that same mistake. So that I will be confident next time to still share the same mistakes and weaknesses I go through with you. Because the day you remind me, as a result of what I told you earlier, that I know you, because you told me last time, you are always a mess, you're a disaster, blah, 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 blah. Trust you me, that's the end of the conversation. And a lot of men go through that when their wives tell them that because you said this, and no, this was your weakness, I will use it. And then they use it against you. Trust you me, he will never talk to you again. And then he starts saying, oh, my husband has changed. Oh, my husband is different. He never talks to me. These days he just keeps quiet. And when he's done something wrong, he doesn't even apologize. He felt betrayed. Now, the same applies with men. You cannot use the information your wife has told you about herself or something she's struggling with, to penalize her or to judge, condemn, or to intimidate her. Say, I know you're going to do this because you told me you always do this. No, you cannot use that. That was information given in confidence. It must remain in confidence. And because we are together in this journey, we're walking together, you must walk with me and help me overcome it. Now, the second boundary is the children's boundary. Now, what do I mean by the children's boundary? This is the boundary within which we keep our children. And this is the boundary within which we maintain the relationship we have with our kids. Because we want our kids to grow up in a particular way. We agree that both of us, now including the children, there are decisions we must make in consultation with the children based on how old they are. As they are old enough to be able to speak for themselves, you can share ideas and ask them what they think. If, take for example, you want to decide you want to go for a holiday and your kids are like, Dad, we are not going to Mombasa this time, we want to go to the village. That is a good idea. We can walk together in that direction. It could be what kind of color of clothes I want to buy for my kids. There are kids, they reach a stage where they choose a particular color. Like in my own house, I have color issues. There are specific colors for which girl and another one for which other girl. And I can't, when I choose, I have to do it in line with what they prefer. If I bring in, it's like, so whose is that? Like, is that for you? He said, but that's not my color. So guess what? The surprise is not for the one who was receiving it. It's for the one who bought it. Why? I did not consult, or I did not walk in line with where their boundaries are. Now, part of what boundaries with the children is key about is that it also helps discipline parents to avoid giving responsibilities that belong to the parents to the children. In other words, we avoid a situation where we are asking our children to take parental issues, all right? In case sometimes there's a conflict between the parents, and I know, and I deal with this as a counselor and as a pastor, that many people, a couple are fighting, and the wife said, go tell your father that I am too tired to go and serve him. The food is in the kitchen. Go tell your mother that if she does not want to serve me, and then the child becomes the medium of the conversation. And at the end of the day, you ask a simple question. Why are you involving the child, a third party, in a confrontation between the two of you? Boundaries keep the child out of the conflict of that. Things like when it comes to paying school fees, and maybe the money hasn't come in on time, and the child does not know that why dad hasn't paid school fees. It's your responsibility to engage the child and just tell the person, well, I'm going to send you back to school, but I will explain to the school why. Don't go tell the teachers dad hasn't gotten money. No, that's none of their business. Your job as the parent is to go talk to the institution. Don't get the child be involved in, does dad have money that we can use to pay my school fees? Or the basic instruction is this. There are things you can engage your children, but there are things you don't engage the kids, so that the children get to know there are parental responsibilities and children responsibilities. But one good thing that it also does when you allow the children to know their area, their boundary within the relationship, it gives them an opportunity, one, to respect the privacy and the roles played by the parents. That is number one. Two, it gives them a degree of independence as children, because then they can make certain decisions on their own in consultation with you, or on their own without consulting you, and then you'll realize that actually they made the right thing. But more than anything else, it helps reduce one thing that is a problem in families today: favoritism. When children feel mom favors me, dad does not like me, or dad favors me because I'm named after his father or after his mother, that brings conflict between parents. So when the boundaries are right, when it comes to discipline, they know we will be disciplined by either dad or mom. Either can. Some know only dad is a disciplinarian. Mom is, I can play around with mom. I can twist around my finger and she'll never do anything. The truth is this: when you know that and you realize that, then the two of you must bring a one united front. You cannot afford to have such a conflict in the house. Boundary number 3 is what I call the relatives boundary. Now, the relatives boundary is an interesting boundary. Starting with your own siblings, and your parents. Now, remember, when you get married, when you get into a relationship, it wasn't the parents who chose who you are going to be in relationship with. They could have played a part. They could have connived in the background, maybe tried to set up things. Well, that sometimes happens based on the relationship you have with your family and based on the status, because sometimes they say the higher the wealthy the family, the more easily the marriages are arranged for them. But the truth is this: you need to give your relatives a distance in your relationship so that you manage your relationship well. You need to manage your marriage well, because at the end of the day, I give a golden rule that yes, your parents can give advice on how you run your marriage. Your brothers and sisters can give advice on, maybe because they could be older than you. They could have been married a little bit older and they now know how to do it better. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with you, the two of you. So you must listen, and listen carefully. One, to what everybody else is saying, but ultimately to what it is your heart wants. So let me come back to talk about the relatives. When we talk about relatives, I have three types of relatives I like introducing every time I do counseling for couples. I have in-loves. Those are relatives who love you. They love you, they appreciate you, they are more excited about this relationship than even the two of you. Then we have in-laws. Those are the ones who appreciate, respect, and give you your space, and and you feel you belong. And then there are the outlaws. The outlaws are the ones that it doesn't matter what you do, you will never please them. However hard, you buy them a gift and they wonder why you bought them a smaller one instead of the bigger one. How comes you gave Auntie so and so a bigger one and this one? Now, those types of in-laws you will live with and deal with the rest of your lives. The question is, how close do you want them into your relationship? Now, I know men who consistently ask their mothers what they should do in their own houses. Seeking advice is not bad. Implementing it must then be done in unison with everyone else agreeing. You don't come in and say, my mother told me this. No, why are we eating githeri every day? My mother says we shouldn't be eating that. It's not healthy for us. Really? So your mother has become a medical doctor, has become everything else? No, I know of couples that your mother, particularly for you men, is too much in the marriage. In fact, there is more of her in the house than even your own wife. But I also know women whose fathers are more in the house than your husband. The question then is this: if this is going to be a little bit too much, what must you do to help make things work well? What you must choose to do, my friends, is you must choose to give them an arm's length distance. Like I said, listen to advice they give you if it is convenient, if it is relevant, if it is appropriate. If it is not, let it go. But what must you do with the relatives? From brothers and sisters, yes, do not give them control over your relationships. Let them show sign of respect. You respect them and let them respect your spouse. Because if they don't respect your spouse, that's exactly what they are telling you. They don't respect you. They don't respect your choices. They don't respect your values. And therefore, they don't respect your spouse. But if they respect your spouse, then it means they respect your choices. They respect your values. They respect who you are and any decision you make for yourself and for your future. They will respect your children because they respected the values and the choices you made. So let them know. Win their confidence. That's great. Win their love and win their trust. Allow them to play a role in your life by seeking their advice and counsel. But remember, once they have said it, bring it to the boardroom. Is it relevant? Is it appropriate? Is it convenient? If it's not, let it go. You got it? Now, boundary number 4 is friendship boundary. Now, this is an interesting one. I know men, we love our friends, and that's a good thing. But there's a limit to which you must allow your friends to get into your relationship. Ladies, I know you, that Chama group that you are part of. It's an excellent, beautiful, lovely group. And the ladies love your story and they love to hear what's the latest thing you're doing with your man. And that is nice. But the truth is this: remember where they are. They're not in the boardroom. They're not part of the marriage. Some of them are struggling with their own relationship. Some of them would be glad to see you fail because maybe they even had wanted the man you married and now you took him and they didn't get him. So the sooner you break up, the faster they get in. There are friends who will try and cut a wedge within your relationship. The friends' boundaries are good. Appreciate each other's friends. Acknowledge them because you can't push them. Some have been friends longer than you before you even showed up in this relationship. But you know what? He chose you and she accepted you. Of all the 10,000 people on planet, Of all the 8 billion human beings on this planet, he chose you. You know, sometimes I listen to couples and you hear people struggling and fighting and saying, listen, a man called his wife useless. And I tell them, how do you call your wife useless? How do you call your most important person in your life useless? You see, if the person you chose is useless, I mean, there are 8 billion human beings on this planet. Out of that, approximately 4.1 billion are women. Out of those 4.1 billion, you chose a stupid one. Who's more stupid than the other? That tells us your values, your choices, the best you could do is useless. You are maybe more useless than the one chose. But because I don't want to be seen to be bad and rude and arrogant, I just want to mention, honor your friends, show them respect, love them, walk with them, but do not let them run your marriage. Don't let them run your relationship. Don't let them make your life what they wanted theirs to be, which unfortunately they may not be running well, because anybody who is running your relationship is doing bad at their own. Yes, you can learn from them. You can listen to what they are going through. You can share their story. You can learn from their examples. Some can be your role models. But this is something I say about role models. Role models set the pace, but they don't set the standard. Role models set the pace, but they don't set the standard. The standards must be set by me for my marriage, for my relationship, for my life, for my family. But they can set the standard. You can say, I would love one day to reach here like so and so. I want to find out how did he do it? How did he succeed in this? But then ultimately, I will go at my pace. It could be someone is earning $500,000 a month. I am earning 50,000 a month. There's a whole zero between the two of us. That zero is important, depending on where it is. If it's in front of the 5, it's useless. If it's behind 5, it's huge. Now, there's a whole zero between the two of us. Now, if I keep thinking of changing cars like that guy changes cars, trust you me, the stress I will be going through won't help me. If my wife thinks that every year we should change the size of our TV, we have a 32-inch, we need a 42-inch, we need a 52-inch, trust you me, and my salary is 20,000 shillings, no, it's not going to work. And with this corona, trust you me, no, it won't work. The truth is this, together we can respect our friends, we honor them, we encourage them to be our good friends, we get to know them. Introduce your spouse to your friends, let them know the kind of people they are. Now, if I am uncomfortable with your friend, if I am your spouse and I'm uncomfortable with one of your friends, I don't fight the friend, I talk to you and I say, by the way, so-and-so makes me uncomfortable. What do you think we should do? I really don't feel comfortable when he's around, or he looks at me, or he says things to me, or, I'm not comfortable. You deal with it. Every man knows how to deal with his friends, unless he doesn't. Now, let me, a piece of advice to ladies, don't try and force your husband to change his friends. The truth is this, you will actually be fighting him. But he can choose to chase his friends and change his friends. He can choose to. You can't force him to, but he can choose to. So allow him the joy, the privilege, the honor, and the dignity of making sure he retains his friends or chases them away or transfers them or fires them, the term you prefer. Now, I am coming to the last boundary, and that is the work boundary. The work boundary, my friends, is where we spend most of our times. A lot of us spend more than 8 to 10 hours in the office. We have colleagues who are closer to us than our own relatives, our own brothers and sisters. They spend more time. We laugh, we have fun with them. They go out on trips. And those colleagues at work are key. But one thing you must never forget, when all is said and done, there is a home you come to. And you don't want, after the stress of the office, to bring it back home. The joy of going to work is that work is a resource that generates income to keep this family. Because the only reason you go to work is so that you are alive and feed the family and take care of the family. Now, if there was a way you could do that, you don't need to go to work. So the colleagues you have are supposed to help you achieve this ultimate goal, which is keep the family going. So don't then replace the family with colleagues and work. Now, I know there are those of us who are workaholics. If you're a workaholic, I don't want to tell you don't be a workaholic. I mean, it's like really learn to manage it. Because at the end of the day, that job you have is not yours. It's the seat. When you leave, they will replace you. If you collapsed, they will replace you. And guess who will be crying? The one you left in the house, the one you're not talking to, the one you're not giving quality time. You need to be able to ask yourself, how can I manage life, work, balance? In which, yes, I give work, it's 100%, and I give my family my 110% because they deserve that. Okay? So now, do not use work as an excuse to deny your family privileges and honors and rights. Do not use work as an opportunity, as an excuse to deny your family and justify, to deny your family your company and justify being away from home. I know people who travel so much. I personally do a lot of traveling, but I know also how to balance that with my own family. So what exactly am I saying? Balance well. Don't let your family your work get into your life to the point that your secretary knows more about you and your life and your schedule and everything other than your wife. To the point that your wife has to call your secretary to ask, hey, by the way, do you know where he will be this weekend? Because I'm planning for our birthday. Really? No, that's not healthy. That's not healthy. So we need to ask ourselves, can we discuss it? One of the things I love telling and I do, I introduce my wife to my family, my family at work, in other words, my colleagues at work. Why is that important? Because it then gives her the opportunity when I get back home. So, did so-and-so come to work? How was work? And I can tell the story. It becomes part of what builds my relationship at home. Okay? So I know her colleagues and she knows my colleagues. She's been to my office. Some of you guys, your wife don't even know where you work. Anafanyaga biashara. Remember that good old song of long time ago? Na hiyo biashara anajua mwenyewe. Nobody knows the job you do. Nobody knows the kind of work you do. The question is the work building on the relationship you've got? Or is it the reason it is tearing it apart? Listen, friends. Issues of work, like you can't have your colleagues calling you at 11, 12, 3 o'clock to tell you how much you're missing and we are all out here. No, that's disrespect. Disrespect of who you are, disrespect of your marriage institution, disrespect of your family, disrespect of your peace of mind. Tell them, listen, once I leave the office, yes, you can call maybe up to 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Beyond that, we meet tomorrow morning. And unless you're calling when it is urgent, please don't tell me, tumeboeka sana, we're just letting you know. No, if you are bored, that's your thing. I am having a great time with my family. So respect that. Friends, I want to finish the 5 boundaries just as a way of summing up. Number 1, I said there's the couple's boundary, which I call the boardroom. Number 2, I talked about the children's boundary. And number 3, I talked about the relatives' boundary. Number 4, I talked about friends' boundary. And number 5, I've talked about work boundary. And all these boundaries must be protected because they must safeguard our family, our relationship, that which we have. Because this is our castle, we must build it, but the foundation must be right. Everything else must add on to it. If they do not add, they are destroying. And that is what the Bible gives us as a reminder. That just like stones, living stones, they must come in to build this beautiful temple, this beautiful sanctuary, this beautiful thing we call relationship, our marriage, our family. If they are not building, they are removing. If they are not building, they are destroying. If they are not building, just like Jesus said, if he's not scattering, if he's not gathering with us, he's scattering. Are your friends, your family, your colleagues at work, all these people around you building with you or destroying? This is John Mark saying, enjoy Crossroad. And like I said, the series on the relationship are coming again. God bless you and have a lovely, lovely week. Thank you.